Feel me? Good.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? My name is Lindsay Taylor. I'm your moderator for today, speaking on community impact, and that is driven through the culture. I'm here joined by our two lovely guests, and I'd like them to introduce yourselves, starting with you, Dimitri.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Dimitri Bieneme. I'm here in DC, so thank you, and we looking forward to have a great conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Adriana Vivaret from Buffalo, New York. And, I'm just excited to be here as someone who absolutely believe in the culture and the concept of community and making that a collision. I'm ready for this conversation.
Yeah. So we won't hold up too much of the time here because we have a very action-packed weekend here at CBC Weekend. And as we all know, really what this all bases to for the legislation that they're pushing, for the policies that they're pushing, right, for all of the initiatives, there's a sense of community with that, right?
Yeah.
And coming from backgrounds of being creative placemakers, right, we have to find ways to bridge our community in many different ways, right? From our Black and Brown communities, right, and to our other communities that we share neighborhoods and walks of life with, right? So just starting with each of you, kind of telling a brief story of like how do you are becoming the bridge or that, in a sense, a connector within your community, driving the culture in the community. I'll start with you, Adrian. I go, right there.
Awesome. How I feel like I'm a connector. I feel like more of an amplifier in my community as a radio personality in the city of Buffalo, Rochester, and Albany. I really utilize my platforms to be a place where I'm able to amplify other voices, whether it's DJs giving them an opportunity, being able to shine a light on people who are moving and shaking in the city, following their dreams, amplifying that voice, amplifying the voice of the events that are going on, in addition to opportunities, and really understanding that we have to utilize these platforms to be a catapult, and a catalyst to be able to talk about what's going on in the community. Because from a radio standpoint, focusing on hip hop, we are the culture, we are the salt, and we give out so many different ways to make things pop and make things happen. And so on, with just a platform of radio, I feel like that's how I'm a huge connector, and being able to interview people on their journeys and their stories for people to be able to connect, and folks to be like, you know what, I've never considered going to that restaurant. I never considered going to that festival, right? And now you want to go in because you were able to connect from a more of a emotional and intellect concept, right? So I'm connected with you emotionally on your journey to get there, and I want to support it. So I think, just a platform of radio and being a vehicle to help others drive to their destinations is really what I look to do every time.
Oh wow, that great to hear. So to me is I can say impact my community. I do it in many ways. So I can go back when I attended the HBCU. I went to Jackson State University. When I was there, I was an ambassador for the university. I traveled across the United States to encourage black students, to attend HBCU, and also to make sure they understand the sense of higher education in the United States. So this opportunity, I did not stop with the opportunity I had like to with Jackson said to be their ambassador. When I left the school, I continue with that in another way. So when I was at GW, which is a predominantly white school, so I continue by organize my black and brown students to put them together to understand, to make sure they understand the sense of community. So that's one of the things I do. I did in the past to make sure my people understand the sense what is to stick together as a community.
I
So
love it.
having this conversation, we have like to understand first what is a community. So as a black and brown people in the United States, we can define our community as we share the same value. So we had a lot in common. And at the same time, while I was working across the United States to make sure my people understand what is the sense of community. So uh, what I did, I make sure they understand what is the culture of being black.
Yeah. So, and with that, I know we shared some of that. So, when I look at it as being culturally relevant and community engaged, right? That's the motto that I stand by, particularly with my arts and culture organization, Buffalo Music and Arts, right? So when we're talking about that, our mission statement being stand on the pillars of diversity to build bridges in the community through the arts. And what does the culture look like, right? And creating this culture, this safe space of individuals from all different walks of life, businesses, industries, right? Age demographics, and taking that culture and bringing them to places where they're not normally accepted at, not normally expected to be at, right? And bringing real, genuine, and authentic impact to there, right? From whether it's music events, whether it's arts events, whether it's right there in the community, whether it's political, whether it's sporting events, and bringing that there. So I think as we continue to do that, right, culture looks like in many different ways, right? And community looks like in many different ways. So one thing I would like to ask both you, start with you, Adri, what does culture look like to you? Yeah.
Yeah. Culture is, I would say, that flavor, right? And that flavor involves gender and generation. And so when I think about the culture that I feel like I impact most when it comes to my platforms or just even connecting, one, I'm a woman, so I can always speak to the relevancy of a woman, right? But also I'm aware enough to be able to connect in the concept of men as well, and anybody else that fall in between the lines, of course, right? And being able to look at it. But the thing is, for me, my culture and my spirit of genius and what is it I like to flow in is music, which is a universal language, right? And is one of the biggest cultural components where you can meet generations. So I think, let's say, gender, generation, and genre.
Come on, triple G's.
Come on, triple G's. That's what we do around here. And so when it comes to those components, I'm always conscious of what I'm playing on the radio. Am I making sure that, because it's WBOK, one of the only stations that is a hip hop station in the city of Buffalo, FM wise, where we got to reach so many people. There's so many different individuals that are listening at one point. So I want to be conscious enough to make sure that what they're experiencing is one of the greatest ways in that moment. I'm giving you that taste that you need. Like today during session, Kevin Lau said that music is medicine. And music really is, because it's geared to make you feel good. It's geared to make you feel a certain kind of way. So I always want to make sure I'm putting candy in the medicine and delivering that to my culture, delivering that to those individuals that are listening. And so conscious enough to make sure that I'm hitting the ladies, I'm hitting the fellas, I'm hitting anybody that loves the hip hop, that loves the reggae. Throw a little bit of gospel in between on a late night.
Gotta
throw the gospel in there in a late night. Throw some house in there, some reggae, and really making sure that when it comes to music, we're hitting generations too. Because I've never thought it would be time when I get somebody that's like my mama age that's listening. Like I listen to every week,
right?
And you be like, really? So I'm conscious enough on that. But also when it comes to generations, I'm thinking about what is it I'm talking about on the air every time I crack the mic. So the things I'm speaking on is relevant. The things I'm talking to is current. And of course, being able to create a call to action to deliver somebody to somewhere, to motivate you, to create some information that's going to move you, or something that's going to say, you know what, I want to attend that. So I'm just really conscious when it comes to culture, gender, genre, and generations.
All right. So how would you describe culture in your work?
To me, culture is what define a human being. So there's no community without culture.
Mm-hmm.
So as a Haitian, so I understand culture different ways, because culture for me is to be able to keep the value of my ancestors. So I'm from a country where the first thing is to protect and defend human rights. So this is, as that I understand I would like to keep fighting for the minority, and that's why I involved in so many things in the Black community here in the US. So by doing that, I went to, most of the time I go to Black community, so talk to them about different things they can do, encourage them like to participate here in the political um to commit in the political atmosphere here. So I convinced them. That if they vote, if they vote, their voice is going to be heard. That's what one thing that can help them like to keep the value of their ancestors here, because we cannot forget our ancestors fight hard. And as we here today at the CBC 53rd ALC, so many people came before us and they fought for us
Yes.
to be able to have a culture and identity. And so to do that, to we have like to transmit to the next generation what means to be black, or what means the black culture, not here only in America, but everywhere.
Everywhere.
So we need, I understand as a part of culture, we from we got African Caribbean, we got African American, we got like African people from
Afro Latinos.
Africa, so Afro Latinos. So the one thing make us unique is to be able to understand we are all one. So another thing I can talk about culture is our music is powerful everywhere. Look at Afrobeat. So I make sure I introduce that not in to my other friends to say, hey, we as black people, we got like we create things. We can create magic. So we can do a lot of things through our culture. That's what I think my culture is.
Yeah, that's great. So as we are wrapping this up, right? We talked about culture. We talked about that. And you come from perspective of protecting and persevering through that through the
Yes.
culture aspect of it, right? You're coming from amplification, activation side of it, right? So how do we bridge, right? Those two things, not particular those two things, but bridge the community and the culture, right? How do we activate that? How do we persevere that? How do we protect that, right? Because at the same sense, you do have culture vultures, right? And you do also have opportunities for those people to misunderstand that. So in the short stick, 'cause I know we probably got a couple minutes. What are some ways that what is one way that you think that what's the connecting piece? What's the bridge, right? To culture and community, and how do we amplify that, and how do we protect that at the same time?
So there is one way to protect our culture is to be able to understand, as I said before, understand our ancestors, create, give us a legacy. So the legacy can be music, it can be the fact, the, the our strength to fight against oppression. It's one of things when it's come for our culture as black people. So how we can protect that is to transmit to the next generation. That means educate them what's mean black culture,
The next generation.
the next generation. So that's the only way we can say yes, we different from each other. However, we got one thing in common is we are all black. Imagine you can take, for example, if you go to Africa to a safari, and you can see if the driver stay out of the car but close to the car and other people on the truck, the lion is not going to over the car, or not going to go after the person outside. You know what the reason? Because the lion has a perspective. The person stay outside the truck is the part of is inside the truck. So what I meant by that, what I'm saying is, if we understand as black people we are the same, when something happened to one and we stand together and to defend, as today we can see what's going on with the Haitian community. And one candidate, a group of people said the Haitian eat dogs, they eat cats, they eat all those things. It's not true. But it's not only Haitian, they say that to all black people. So I want you to understand we need to come together as one. That's our that's supposed to be our strength, like to be one and to defend each one
That's good.
another.
That's good. So, how do you go from your perspective amplifying the culture, or in community, I should say as well too,
So the creating a collision, of
creating a
the two?
collision?
I think the collision really is. I don't know why I'm always gonna go back to music. Music is the greatest unifier, right?
I say that too because we always talk about this, right? And we
Yeah.
always say that there's a few things that people will drop their barriers for to come together as a collective, and it's music, it's arts,
Yeah.
right? And then you have sports. For those given periods while people are experiencing those elements, right? They will drop their guard to a degree
Absolutely.
and come together, right? So
So for me, I look at it like even here, of course, we talk about the Congressional Black Caucus being here for the ALC. You know, one of the components they talked about, one of the sessions was, of course, mobilizing, utilizing hip hop to mobilize. Hip hop has the power and has always has the power to be able to garner a certain kind of attention to redirect information. You know, whether it's because of celebrity, whether it's because of stature, whether it's because of the leadership that it positions. So when I look at just that one avenue to hip hop, but even if you look at the country music, you got Taylor Swift, who just endorsed Kamala Harris, right? So therefore she has those eyes on her. So when I look at community and culture, we really have the ability to create that cultural collision for the community through leveraging arts, through leveraging music, through leveraging athletics, and putting the medicine in the candy, and the candy being those different things that we enjoy, and allowing that enjoyment to be something that we make educational, and what I like to call edutainment. So we're educating and we're entertaining at the same time, and keeping those type of lenses. We're going to be able to speak about our ancestors, speak about our history, speak about the differences, speak about the current aspects that we need to see move and shake in our community. Because when it comes to our community, when it comes to our culture, we always have this avenue of, is it fly? Is it cool? Is it the hip thing to do? So these are different avenues and ways we could create the cultural collision that will still be able to sustain and make it something that is absolutely informative and
great.
entertaining.
And as
one thing I would like to add is, as Black people need to know everything as our culture comes from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So we cannot forget. We cannot forget that.
Never.
Right. And that's keeping it rooted in a
Yep,
sense.
literally.
So as we are wrapping up, we want to thank everybody for tuning into this podcast. We'll go around real quick where people can find you and your thing. Just give you social media or tag. Let them know real quick where they can find you at Adrian.
Yep, of course. Me, Adriana Viverette, also known as Adri V, the Go-Getter radio personality and podcaster. Find me at all things Adri V, the Go-Getter. That's A to the D, R to the I-V, THEGOGETTA. All social media platforms, and AdriVTheGoGetter.com.
And where can they find you, Dimitri?
They can find me on IG, Facebook. It's Dino Bien-Aimé is DINO. Last name Bien-Aimé BIEN-AIME.
Sounds good. And for me, for Lindsay Taylor, find me on LinkedIn, Lindsay Taylor, or with Both Flow Music and Arts, BEAUFLEUVE, Music Arts, all platforms. Thank you all for tuning in, culture, community, and making an impact with it.